Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Ung Studio, and today we're going to be designing and making a Christmas tree light using green translucent acrylic. This project is special to me because my parents are refugees from another country. They weren't able to celebrate and they weren't aware of a lot of major holidays that we all know of today. So because of that, we only celebrated Christmas once in my life, and up until this moment, I've only had a Christmas tree one time. That one time was because my father went out and bought a Christmas tree in secrecy. Then he put it up in our one-bedroom apartment in the living room. We had one bedroom that we shared with my 5 siblings and my 2 parents. From that moment to now, I've always wanted to have another Christmas tree. So instead of going out and buying one, I decided why not try and make one myself. So today, we're going to be designing and making a Christmas tree using this green translucent acrylic. Because it's translucent, you can't see through the material, but the material will actually diffuse light, and because it's diffusing light, it'll make it so that it looks like it's glowing when the light is hitting it in a certain way. I really like that about this material, and because you can't see through it, you can also then see the overall form of the Christmas tree that we're designing and making today. If it were transparent, you'd see through the material and you'd see all of the different panels and you'd see the light bulb, and it would start to distract you. So because it's translucent, it'll really let us see the overall form of the thing that we're making today. So with that, the second thing that I'm trying out for this project is increasing the size of the finger joints. In my previous acrylic light videos, which you can check out here on my channel, I typically made all of the finger joints the same width as the thickness of the material. Because I did that, the material slotted in perfectly and it worked perfectly. But I've had reviews in the past where I've seen people say that because it was such a tight fit, they weren't able to make any minor adjustments if they made an error somewhere in the beginning of their assembly process. So for that reason, I wanted to see what it would be like to actually try and make a project like this with a wider finger joint. So we're going to explore that today. Let's jump into that step where I'll show you how I designed this project and I'll show you the 3D model that I came up with. This is the design of each of the components that will be coming together to create this Christmas tree light. There will be 2 assemblies that are constructed separately, then stacked on top of each other to create the Christmas tree. Starting with this assembly down here, there are 2 typical frames that you'll see in a bunch of my acrylic light projects that I've shared here on my channel. For this project, we're actually not going to insert the finger joints at an angle, but instead we're going to go perpendicular to the exterior of that circle. It's going to be the same for both the base, which is the right side here, and the top frame, which is the left side here. On the right side, that circle that I just highlighted in yellow is going to be where the light source is installed. The panel on the very left here resembles half of a Christmas tree. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a bunch of these and install them into each of the finger joints around this circle. That'll create the Christmas tree base. Once that's installed, I'll then need to come up here, cut 2 of these frames and a bunch of these panels on the right side. The panels on the right side are smaller, but I'm going to refer to this assembly as the crown because this panel here will actually come together and fit onto the top of that base panel in such a way where it starts to cap off the Christmas tree. It'll look something like this in a section. Now let me show you what it looks like in a 3D model. In the 3D model here, you'll see how all of the pieces come together and are assembled to create what we're seeing. Down here, everything that's highlighted in yellow is actually going to be that first assembly that I was talking about with the taller panel. You can also see that bottom frame down here that I'm now highlighting in yellow. That bottom frame is going to have that circle cutout at the center for where the light bulb will be installed. At the very top of that, you'll then see this larger frame at the top that's going to act as a secondary structural support for this overall light fixture. Then at the very top, this is going to be the crown. Everything that's now highlighted in yellow is the crown that I was talking about. It comes together just to create that cap. If I didn't have this component here, let's say I deleted it, let's see what it looks like. Without that top crown, it starts to look like it's an unfinished tree, but once that crown is in place, it starts to cap off really beautifully. I'm really excited to make this project, but the one thing I'm a little concerned about is the overall size. The size of the panels are relatively large. If I measure them here, you'll get to see how large they actually are. So if I measure the height of that first panel, it's actually 14 inches tall. The overall width at the widest point of that panel is going to be 4 3/4 inches wide. So once this entire thing comes together, we'll have a light fixture that's about 14 3/4 inches wide by about 17 inches tall. So this is what the overall light fixture is going to look like once it's complete. I think it really does look like a Christmas tree, and it looks really perfect because all of the panels are exactly the same. At one point, I did actually think about taking it and making each of the panels slightly different, but I like the way it came out. I also want to mention that I included these little notches here in case I decide to cut out some ornaments to hang on these. I think it could be a really cool second project to follow up on this one, but we'll see if I actually get around to making those. Now let's talk about what the pieces look like before they're laser cut on their sheets. I have the sheets set up in this way. The reason why they're set up this way is because the overall size that I can fit inside of my Glowforge Laser Cutter is about 20 inches wide by 11 inches tall. The cutting size is around that size as well. So here I've set up each of these pieces so that they're more efficiently laid out on those sheets. I'm going to need 9 of these sheets for that larger panel, and then I'm going to need 1 sheet here that includes some of the smaller panels as well as all of the frames. So that's my design and 3D model of the Christmas tree light that I'm going to be making out of the green translucent acrylic that I showed you earlier. I'm actually a little bit concerned about the finger joint that I'll be using for this project because it's sized a little bit larger than I'm used to. I'm giving it a shot to see what it actually looks like because if I want more people to be able to make a project like this, I want to add a little bit of tolerance in there so if anyone messes something up along the way of their assembly, they actually have a little bit of time to go back and try and fit something in place because there's that slight adjustment that they're able to make. However, I'm a little bit concerned about that because I typically like to design all of my finger joints to be perfect with the material so that the glue that I'm using, if I decide to use it, has enough time to actually cure in place. So let's see what turns out with this project, and I'll tell you at the very end how the gluing experience went for me. With that, please remember to support this channel by liking this video and subscribing for more like it. Now let's jump into laser cutting all of the pieces, assembling them, and then I'll show you what the final project looks like. So that's how I designed and made this Christmas tree light using green translucent acrylic. It was a really fun project to work on, but one of the things I would never do again in the future is increasing the width of the finger joint, because it actually created too much of a wiggle room for all of the panels. It made it hard to keep all of them aligned perfectly towards the center, and it also made it really hard to glue the pieces together. I had to come up with different ways, as you could see in a time-lapse video, to hold the pieces in place, like using jigs to hold the base so that all the pieces were perfectly aligned, and also making sure that none of them were popping out and actually being glued into another area. I didn't like that aspect of the larger finger joint, so in the future, I would rather make all of the finger joints perfectly sized to the thickness of the material. Aside from that though, I'm really excited by how this project came out because it looks exactly the same, if not better, than the 3D model that I showed you earlier. Let me know what you think about this project and how it came out, and remember to support this channel by liking this video and subscribing for more like it. And with that, have a Merry Christmas to you and to your family. I'll see you guys next time.